You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
We're not going to be scared away by the number 13 here on the Minor League Baseball podcast, the show before the show. Episode number 13, we are embracing fully, Jake Seiner.
Yeah, we are. You can't scare us off.
Good 13s, you know. John Gray, Colorado Rockies prospect, is the 13th ranked prospect according to MLB.com's prospect rankings this year. Notable number 13s in Major League Baseball. There have been a lot of them, of course. Dan Marino in football. I don't know.
Dan Marino is the only one to think of, and then A-Rod.
Yeah, A-Rod. Who else? There's got to be there's a handful of other guys in Ralph Branca. I know Ralph Branca wore 13.
It's a little bit of a jump from A-Rod, but
yeah.
Also a baseball player.
Manny Machado wore it in his rookie year.
Oh, right. I think that's actually probably an A-Rod thing. I think the two of them are...
Yeah, that could be. Also...
supposing there. I don't actually know that. But.
According to this random sporting news article that I found, Bobby Valentine wore it when he was manager of the Red Sox in 2012. So that went well.
Not very long.
That went very well, obviously. So welcome in.
Hopefully it'll be a little luckier for us than it was for Bobby V.
It is episode number 13 of the show before the show podcast. I am Tyler Vaughn. He is Jake Seiner. And we are, for once, not trying to strategize, man, there are like 17 top prospects promoted this week who we're going to talk about. It was like a relatively normal week in minor league baseball somehow. You can get in touch with us by emailing us, podcast@milb.com. You can also follow Jake on Twitter at Jake_Seiner. I'm at Tyler Mon. Minor League Baseball is at MILB, and you can rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes as well. And before we dive too far into the show today, I want to give you a preview of what's coming up this week via the show before the show podcast. Jake and I are going to talk today. We'll be joined by Benjamin Hill a little bit later on in the show. And then later on this week, we are going to have a conversation with Colorado Rockies' top overall draft pick and the third overall pick this year, Brendan Rodgers, the shortstop out of Lake Mary High School in Florida. Brendan Rodgers will join us, getting set to start his professional career this week in rookie-level Grand Junction in the Pioneer League. So really excited for that. And we'll have that as its own special kind of conversation, special episode coming up later on in the week. Yeah, I mean, a full week, but not an insane week like we've seen recently.
Yeah, whenever we designed the three-strike segment, I feel like we've had like 3 stories a week will probably be worth talking about, not the last couple weeks where we've had like, I don't know, 9 innings worth.
Yeah, I was going to say, it would have been like a 9-inning style segment instead of a 3-strike segment.
Right, so this is fitting a little better. Yeah, we can roll right into strike one to get started. We are going to talk about a couple of guys who got promoted in this segment. We're going to start with Boston Red Sox center fielder Manuel Margot, who got promoted from Class A Advanced Salem to Double A Portland. Made his Portland debut on Tuesday night, went 1 for 4 with a base hit, just a single. Margot was really good at Class A Advanced, as you might imagine, getting promotion, but maybe not as good, at least looking at the box scores and the stats, as people might expect for a guy getting promoted. Hit .282 in 46 games. 321 on base percentage, 420 slugging percentage, had just 3 home runs, 20 stolen bases, which is obviously really good. The crazy thing with Margot is the amount of contact he makes, at least at the plate. That's the really impressive thing. He only had 15 strikeouts and 181 at-bats compared to 11 walks. He's a very aggressive hitter, but has maybe the best bat-to-ball skills in the minor leagues right now, certainly with Byron Buxton promoted and Carlos Correa promoted. I think he's certainly in the running in the next class behind those guys. And a really, really, really good defensive center fielder as well. He's a guy profiled in the offseason when I reviewed some of the best defenders in the minors, and him and David Dahl and some other guys are kind of thrown in the same class as being in the tier right below Buxton and Michael Taylor with the Nationals. Margot, a guy, really good athlete, and the Red Sox absolutely adore the makeup too. He's as much a baseball rat as probably anybody in the minors. The hustle and the awareness of what to be doing with his time before the game is something that I know really stood out to Darren Fenster, the manager at Green, and that's something that seems to be echoed by a lot of Red Sox people. So not surprising that's a guy that's moving quickly, just based on the tools and based on the makeup. You thought maybe the numbers would be a little more impressive before getting a jump to Portland, but certainly no red flags there. And, a guy who certainly you can see why he'd be moving quickly based on the total profile.
And he's already young for the level that he's being promoted from. I mean, he's 20 years old, which is, a little bit young for Class A Advanced. Now he's going to make the jump up to the Eastern League, where he's definitely going to be one of the youngest guys there. Our own Sam Dykstra also did a story just last week, I think, in which he talked about speed tools right now in the minors, and of the ranked top 100 prospects, he graded out with the top speed tool among those guys. And Margot is a very dynamic player, I think, because of what he brings a lot in that regard. It's not just that he has tools elsewhere, but the speed and, like you said, the ability to be kind of a hustle guy and a spark plug type of guy is an exciting thing. And it'll be fun to see how he does at that level, because it is a much different atmosphere than the Carolina League. The ballparks play different. He's going to be playing at a good pitcher's park at Hadlock Field in Portland. But again, aggressive assignments, guys who make climbs quickly. We've seen so much of that this season, and it's good for Portland too, because a lot of the top prospects in the Red Sox system seem like they haven't gone through AA this year. So it's exciting for Portland to be able to get one.
Yeah, and one thing we should probably touch on with Margot too is there might be more power here than he's shown so far in his minor league career. He's got 20 home runs in 279 games. I said just 3 this year. He's a guy who's remarkably disciplined in his batting practice sessions and really focuses on working gap to gap, getting in the work that he needs to get done. And in games, he's got much more of a gap to gap approach. But some Red Sox people I've talked to have said when he does occasionally just let him fly in batting practice, he has enough strength and enough power there to hit some balls out of the park. I don't think he's going to be a plus home run hitter or anything when he gets to the majors, but has the chance to hit 10, 15 home runs in the majors too. Certainly has the strength to do that. A line drive swing, guys trying to make a lot of contact might not tap into that fully, but there's more strength that I think people realize and maybe grade him with there too.
One of the guys who does have some plus power is and a little bit bigger size-wise, shall we say, but will be a part of, presumably, possibly, that Yankees-Red Sox rivalry down the road. Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees organization also received a promotion. He headed up to AAA with the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. Almost said the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Yankees. That would have been a very throwback thing to say. Did single in his first appearance for Scranton Wilkes-Barre, went 1 for 4. And the thing about Aaron Judge that grabs you, obviously, is the size. I mean, this is a guy who, over the course of his minor league career so far, has already shown some pretty big power. 29 home runs over his first 195 minor league games, but he's 6'7", 275. 6'7", 275 pounds is Aaron Judge. And I think the thing that people really like about him is it's not just that he's imposing physically, but he's a very mature guy. He has a good approach at the plate, and he's making the climb down to AA at 23 years old, so it seems like he's right on track. He was a first-round pick in 2013, did not debut due to a quad injury until last year, but is starting to make this climb pretty quickly in the Yankees organization.
Yeah, and for a guy who's 6'7" and 275 pounds, he's more athletic than I think that those measurements might suggest. He's a guy who, he moves pretty well. He's definitely going to be a corner outfielder. He's got a huge arm that's really going to play well in right field, but very loose and athletic at the plate for a guy that size. Does a pretty good job covering what's a pretty large strike zone. I think strikeouts are probably going to be a thing with him. He might not be a real high average hitter in the majors. He's surprised, maybe not surprised everybody, but certainly shown an ability to hit for average in the minor league so far and shown a pretty discerning batting eye, so that might be something, if anybody at 6'7" can overcome that, I think Judge is probably that guy, but the power is absolutely legitimate. I've seen some guys tempted to throw like a 90 on it on the 20 to 80 scale. It's nearly Gallo-esque in the way that he can hit the ball a long way. And does it just with pure size and strength, but a little more athleticism and fluidity to it too than maybe you'd expect for a guy that size. I would expect he probably, things go well at AAA, I can't see why he wouldn't get a shot in the majors in September, if not sooner. I think the Yankees probably want to get a chance to see him in the majors and see how he reacts and possibly set him up to give him an everyday role in 2016. I don't know that from talking to anybody there, but that seems like certainly what I would do in that position is try to get him in the majors pretty quickly and see what you have there, because I don't think there's a whole lot left for him to prove being in the minor leagues.
He is the type of guy who, if you were playing against him like at a youth level or in high school, you would see the other team get off the bus, and then Aaron Judge would get off the bus and he'd be like, why don't we just go home now? This kid is like the size of Paul Bunyan. I don't think we're gonna compete today with this team.
I would not have challenged him with my 75-mile-an-hour fastball. He would have gotten 4 fingers outside, free pass.
Every time up. Why
Every
not?
Time. Bases loaded, I'll Barry Bonds it. Okay.
Strike Three is a super cool story from this week, and Major League Baseball saw some history made at noon on Sunday afternoon, quoting from Lindsey Berra of MLB.com, when, quote, a 16-year-old French girl made Major League Baseball history. Melissa Mailloux, a shortstop on the French U18 junior national team, became the first known female baseball player to be added to MLB's international registration list, which means she will be eligible to be signed by a Major League club on July 2nd. International prospects go on to that list typically at MLB-sanctioned events where their birth and their citizenship have been verified. We know there are academies and there are showcases kind of throughout, especially the Latin American world. We've seen them in the Dominican Republic and Colombia and in Panama and kind of all over the place. And Europe has started to come along in that regard in producing some young prospects. Obviously, Max Kepler's having a great season right now in the Minnesota Twins organization, who's a kid out of Germany. I remember a few years ago, I think the Atlanta Braves signed a couple of prospects from the Canary Islands and set up an academy there. So there are some very random pockets of baseball in Europe. But Melissa Mailloux wants to play baseball past when she is done with her high school career. She said, quote, I would like very much to continue playing baseball in France until I'm 18 years old and then have the ability to leave for university or another opportunity abroad. I'd like to stay in baseball as long as possible. Women's baseball is very big in a lot of countries outside the United States. There is a USA national women's team. They've been successful, but you don't hear about it nearly as much as you hear about the national softball team, USA Softball. But women's baseball in other countries is gigantic. And so this is a really cool story because this isn't like some token, it's a girl who played softball and now she's switching, really wants to try baseball. This is a legit baseball player. And from what we have heard, and Lindsey Berra did a great job putting this story together, talking to some scouts and some people who have observed her, and there is some video of her taking swings, fielding ground balls. She looks like a very good baseball player. I mean, it's difficult for anybody to get signed out of Europe, period, but this is obviously a historical thing for Melissa Mailloux.
Yeah, there's one of the quotes in there was from the MLB director of international game development, Mike McClellan, who's been watching her for a couple of years and recounted the time he saw her turn on a 91-mile-an-hour fastball. So, she has the bat speed to at least catch up to that. The video of her fielding it short actually was really impressive. I don't know why I sound surprised. Everybody said it would be good, and it was really good. It looks like she actually has some arm strength there. The actions look good. She moves well. Really intrigued by what happens if Mailloux does sign with a team. I'm kind of fascinated just for the thought experiment of what a woman in minor league baseball might look like. I think there's a lot of I think probably would be pretty well embraced by a lot of players and a lot of coaches, but I think it'd be a very different thing. I wonder how opposing fans might treat her, what kind of the scrutiny might be like, what the media attention might be like. Certainly would love to see it and think it's a cool thing. And I also think that another cool thing about Mailloux, too, is that she is a French shortstop without really any connections to the U.S. I think for the most part, a lot of the players that we've seen coming out of Europe have been either military kids or kids of American parents who ended up overseas. I'm pretty sure Mailloux doesn't have any of those connections, which I thought was an interesting part of this, that obviously a much bigger deal that she's a woman and getting this kind of recognition, and that's obviously the lead story, but it's the kind of an underlying thing that I'm interested by is just the fact that she seems to be a French girl who was really good at baseball, just playing baseball in France, which I didn't realize was a thing was going on before I read this. She will go to MLB's European Elite Academy in August, where she'll do some work with former Major League players. Barry Larkin will be there among them. That academy, that camp, has been around for 10 years. 76 players who have been chosen to participate there have gone on to sign with Major League teams. Two of them, Alex Liddy from Italy and Donald Lutz from Germany, and Lutz is kind of one of those same sort of circumstances. I believe his mother is American and his father was German. He grew up in Germany. Those two guys, Liddy and Lutz, have each reached the major leagues. Alex Liddy's currently in Double-A in the Kansas City Royals organization. Lutz is recovering from Tommy John surgery, was actually just released by the Cincinnati Reds a few weeks ago. But it's, there is talent that comes out of Europe. It's very unheralded, but there are some very toolsy, very good players that come out of Europe. The Czech Republic has a fantastic baseball history. Italy has a very good baseball history. France actually has a very decent amount of people who play baseball. They don't compete as well at the national level, but this is going to be a fun story to watch. I would say the odds are probably not in her favor to be signed, and that's not because she is a female baseball player. It's just because it is so extraordinarily difficult to get a deal coming out of Europe, period. So you really have to blow the doors off of a scouting evaluation or, in international competition to get a contract coming out of a European academy or a European team growing up anyway. But it's going to be a fun story to watch, and it'll be really cool to see how she does in that camp coming up in August. Yeah, we should note most European players wait until they're 18 to sign.
Right.
They're eligible to sign at 16, just like the Dominican kids and everybody else, but they wait till 18. Another. I mean, you mentioned Kepler before. I feel like we should just touch on him and the season he's having. He's just been outrageous as a first baseman and outfielder with Chattanooga. And his parents, his mother was from Texas and his dad is from Poland, and they were ballet dancers. And so I'm guessing his mom was into baseball there. But yeah, definitely a cool story and one we're going to be monitoring.
We want to keep an eye on for this story as well, since I'm like the biggest World Baseball Classic nerd. She could be part of the 25-person French roster for the 2017 WBC. They would presumably go through the qualifying round in 2016. And then there is the option for her to play college baseball over here, and that would not surprise me. That, I think, right now would probably be the most likely route for her to go, and that would be very, very cool to see her go to a university over here, play college baseball, see what happens from that respect. Even if it's a JUCO or a smaller school and she can get, selected a little bit earlier should she go to the draft, there are a lot of avenues for her now. It's a very difficult road because of where she comes from and the baseball development that you get in a situation like growing up in France is obviously going to be much less intensive than elsewhere, but really cool story. And a great job by Lindsey Bear to put this together for MLB.com, because really, really fun story to watch. So that's going to wrap up this week's Three Strikes as we head on into the bulk of episode 13 of MILB.com's The Show Before the Show podcast. Got a lot coming up on the show today. We're going to talk some Arizona Diamondbacks. We're going to talk some Touki Toussaint, the deal that was made to send the former first-round pick of the Diamondbacks to the Atlanta Braves. All that and more coming up next on episode number 13 of The Show Before the Show. Hey, Show Before the Show listeners, Matt Harvey, Andrew McCutcheon, and Alex Gordon are just a few of the Major League Baseball stars who have played in the AAA All-Star Game. And now you can help select the players for this season's game at Warner Field in Omaha, Nebraska. Visit www.milb.com/ballot to cast your vote today. That's www.milb.com/ballot. The Arizona Diamondbacks turned a whole lot of heads, and I think made a lot of people scratch a whole lot of heads this week when announced that a deal had been reached to ship 2014 first-round draft pick Touki Toussaint to the Atlanta Braves in a trade that really blew a whole lot of people away. The Diamondbacks sent both Toussaint and Bronson Arroyo to Atlanta for infielder Phil Gosselin, who goes back to Arizona in the deal. Bronson Arroyo underwent Tommy John surgery last July. He is owed $9.5 million for this year and a $4.5 million buyout for 2016. Should that be the route that his new organization now goes with that with the Atlanta Braves? Could be available to join the Braves rotation in August, but that's not really the point of this trade. The point of this trade is Touki Toussaint was viewed last year when he was taken in the first round with the 16th overall pick of the first-year player draft by the Diamondbacks as maybe the highest ceiling, maybe the most lively arm in the 2014 draft. And now all of a sudden, after just 19 appearances in professional baseball in the Diamondbacks organization, he's gone. And this one is a strange one. You and I have kind of talked, and you tweeted a couple of things this week about how it's definitely a head-scratcher move, and I still don't know if I really get this deal from the Diamondbacks' perspective.
Yeah, I mean, the Diamondbacks are trying to set themselves up to maybe make some moves at the deadline and compete this year, which I guess I kind of understand, and I can see where maybe they need some salary to do that. But I don't understand mortgaging a guy like Toussaint, who, and I think one thing that Tony La Russa has had some quotes that have come out this week. Tony La Russa being the president of baseball operations, I believe, high up with the Diamondbacks, saying that this was essentially about Toussaint being such a risky asset as a young pitcher, and the team figuring they could move this and then get some more close to the majors assets with that $10 million that they think they're going to need to make trades at the deadline and work within this window they're setting themselves up for the next 3 or 4 years. Which I guess is fine, but then I don't know why last year. I mean, La Russa and these guys, La Russa was already there during the draft last year. I don't understand why, as an organization, you would jump so quickly, and I think some of the justifications we've seen, I know there was quotes from Dave Stewart tweeted from the D-backs official account. Stewart said, quote, "With this year's draft, we stacked our minor league system with college guys who are ahead of Touki on the depth chart," which, I mean, you don't trade a high school arm who's 19 in Class A just because you have some college pitchers coming in to worry about. You're going to find innings for everybody. So
exactly.
I hope that was just a throwaway sort of justification, just to give fans something to chew on. And I mean, the closest I can come up with for figuring this out with the D-backs is they figured out that they just didn't like Toussaint as either a prospect or something with his makeup. I know we did a story on Toussaint after one of his starts a couple weeks ago, and he talked a little bit about how he'd been losing his focus on the mound a little bit, and that was something the D-backs have been working with him on. But, I mean, a 19-year-old losing a little bit of focus in the middle of a game, that's not something you're concerned about. You expect that for a kid that age, being in Class A for the first time. If that's the red, I kind of don't believe that that's the red flag, but that's like the best I can get to like wrapping my mind around this and trying to justify this from Arizona's perspective. I know the Braves are really excited. Toussaint was a guy that they were targeting in the draft last year and really liked and really high on, and for good reason. He's got a mid to high 90s fastball. His curveball is really, really good. Has a chance to be a plus or maybe even better than that. The changeup has shown some promise. He was throwing it a lot this year. People who are looking at the numbers for Toussaint might think they weren't that impressive. And I mean, he had a 3.69 ERA in Class A with Kane County, but he was really being handcuffed, forced him to throw just the fastball and the changeup. I think Ken Rosenthal tweeted he hadn't thrown a curveball yet this year, which I wasn't able to confirm that, but it certainly seems like he was not working with his best repertoire, which is a lot of teams do that, just trying to get a guy to pitch more effectively and work on certain things. So I wouldn't be alarmed by the numbers or the lack of strikeouts. The scouting reports are still absolutely glowing on him, and everything we've heard about the makeup is really strong. Certainly the Braves thought the makeup was a plus for him, if anything, this time last year. So yeah, I'm mostly baffled and grasping at straws, just trying to figure out how this makes sense for the Diamondbacks in any way other than one of the stranger salary dumps I think we've seen in certainly in baseball that I can remember.
Well, and I think the Diamondbacks have difficulty selling this deal in that they traded for a good Major League player. I mean, Phil Gosselin is a very decent replacement level Major League player, but he is A, recovering from an injury right now, and B, not the type of guy that you would assume a team would trade a first-round draft pick for from just a year ago. I mean, getting rid of Bronson Arroyo and the money that goes along with that is one thing. So if it's a salary dump, then it makes it somewhat acceptable. But had you acquired a bigger piece in return in this deal, then I think maybe you could sell it to your fan base a little easier. But to go out and deal Touki and then say, well, it's because there are other guys that we just drafted who are ahead of him on the depth chart. I mean, like you said, Jake, I don't think you just place former first-round pick on the depth chart because they're older. I mean, obviously, Touki was getting his innings in so far this season in Kane County. He's been pretty successful, a 2-2 record, a 3.69 ERA, 1.179 whip. He struck out 29 and only walked 15 in 39 innings. So it's not like he's, out there wasting away, not getting any time on the mound. This is a very, very odd deal. It's especially odd to me in light of the fact that I did the Diamondbacks Prospect Primer back in March, and during that, I spent a lot of time at the Diamondbacks offices at Salt River Fields, a talking stick, and I talked with Mike Bell, their player development director, and Mike could not stop raving about Touki Toussaint. That's what seems so strange to me, because it almost comes off like a deal where an organization is saying, we just didn't really like this guy or see how he fit into our system, which, A, if that's the case and it's less than a year or basically a year since you drafted him and you did not see that this was going to be an issue from a baseball standpoint, that seems very weird. That seems like a very weird indictment on your scouting staff. B, if it's a makeup thing, I didn't see that coming at all. And one of the quotes I went back and found, Mike Bell said, quote, emotionally, mentally, Touki is beyond his years. His mother and father did a great job with him. He's respectful. You do feel like you can push him and he would struggle but learn from it. So I don't see it. The Diamondbacks, if this message that came across from Tony La Russa is the actual thought, which is we're a lot closer than people think, then I guess that's something. But is Phil Gosselin the thing that's going to put you over the top? Because that seems to be a justification for making a move of a bigger splash than this one is. I don't know if Phil Gosselin is the missing piece there to get you to catch the Giants and the Dodgers.
No, especially what they have a deep infield already. They don't need more help on the dirt. And I mean, if you're going to try to acquire an impact guy to either be a catcher or help the rotation or the bullpen or wherever they feel like they're the outfield, wherever they need to upgrade, Toussaint's the kind of chip you want to trade. You have a high risk but high ceiling guy like that. That's the kind of guy that when a team comes and asks, we want one of your top three prospects, one of them is Touki Toussaint, you say that's the guy we want to move because that guy has a ton of value. Other teams are going to be willing to take a chance on him. And I do just got to give kudos to the Braves, to John Hart and John Coppolella, the GM and assistant GM, for putting themselves in a position to do this. It seems like something they had some foresight, not necessarily for this deal, but the Braves freed up like $150-200 million with the trades they made this offseason, and so far the pitchers, they've used some of that money to bring back, and some of those other pieces. They've added Matt Whistler, Max Fried, Mike Foltynewicz, Manny Benuelos, Tyrell Jenkins, Arodys Vizcaino, and Ricardo Sanchez, and now Touki Toussaint on top of that. That's a ton of pitching talent coming in. And out of those guys, I mean, when they say like 1 in 5 pitching prospects really is going to work out to become a major league starter, but you got, 10 guys or something they added right there, and guys that are close to the majors. They also added Shelby Miller, who, wasn't really a prospect, but was a guy who had more upside than he's shown in the majors in the last year or so. I mean, just an outrageous job of infusing that system with talent and using the financial resources they have, and they're not even really a big market team anymore, but using what they have and leveraging that as well as they can. I mean, paying $10 million for Touki Toussaint. Touki Toussaint's a free agent on the open market. I think one of the Fangraphs guys did a piece on this, Dave Cameron, and estimated, I think it was going to be like $20 million at least is what Toussaint would be worth. And the Braves, I mean, Phil Gosselin is a nice little player, but every team has a few Phil Gosselins probably hanging around AAA or around the majors. Not a hard guy to replace, not a guy that has a ton of surplus value to him. So essentially the Braves bought an elite, not quite an elite pitching prospect, but a very promising pitching prospect for $10 million, which is probably half the price he goes for if he's just on the open market and just open bidding. So really a coup for them, a trade that makes all the sense in the world. And I'm just left kind of, you want, if you're the D-backs, trade Touki Toussaint for your outfielder and have the other team pick up a few million dollars on the deal just to make that happen. If that's, because now they have $10 million, but they're going to have to move other prospects to get somebody to pay them that salary still. I can't find a way to make it make sense.
Certainly not the first kind of head-scratcher move that we've seen from the Diamondbacks over the last 5 or 6 years or so. But if you're Touki right now, this is an exciting time.
For 3 years.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's been
that was a different regime, so I can't
right.
on them. But that's where this whole thing really started to be a mess.
It has been
Arroyo, 2 years guaranteed, third year with a buyout and a lot of money. It seemed like they had pitching depth at the time. They traded some guys away. Just a lot of confounding moves from that group, from the last set of people in charge, and from this one.
It would not surprise me to see Touki move very quickly in the Atlanta organization. It's a system that obviously, for the last 25 years has developed pitching talent extraordinarily well. I would not be surprised to see him climb the ladder pretty quickly, and maybe to Carolina by the end of the season in the Carolina League this year, to the Carolina Mudcats, to check himself at the Class A advanced level, because I think he has that talent, and I think from everything I had heard from the Diamondbacks, he has the mental side of it too, and that just leaves you wondering what in the heck happened here. But Touki Toussaint moves on to the Atlanta Braves from the Arizona Diamondbacks just over a year. And one thing that we noted just before we get out of this topic, this deal, the Diamondbacks had to have been thinking about this for a little while, because it's only been 53 weeks roughly since Touki was drafted, and players are not allowed to be traded, Trey Turner notwithstanding, within the first year after you have been drafted. So you've got to think that the Diamondbacks have had this on their minds for a little while, for this to just, the trigger all of a sudden be pulled pretty quickly after that year elapsed.
Yeah, I think I can't remember who wrote it or tweeted it, but I think somebody either quoted LaRusse or Capello, I don't have the info in front of me, but they basically confirmed this is something that had been being talked about for at least a couple weeks, and I don't know that the D-backs were just looking to dump Toussaint from the beginning of the season or something like that. I don't know if this was built up quite like that, but I think they were kind of waiting for that deadline to pass and for that opportunity to show itself, and maybe we're, a lot of medicals that have to be reviewed here too, because the other two players going in the deal are both injured guys coming back from being injured in Gosselin and Arroyo, so that probably took a little bit of time just to hash through as well. But so I wish I had the story in front of me, but I don't have it right in front of me. But I'm pretty sure this was something that was being talked about for a little bit.
Kind of a strange one, but it happens from time to time, especially as it comes to prospects, because you don't know what the next 3, 4, 5 years are going to hold for Touki Toussaint or for anybody like him. But as of right now, it looks like the Atlanta Braves got a very, very talented, very young, very lively arm to plug into that mix heading forward for the a future, what looks to be a bright future for pitching, not just in Atlanta, but in that entire division stacked with pitching. So with that, we're going to transition out of some transaction talk and move on over to the promotional side of things with our good pal Benjamin Hill, who's off on the road gallivanting around the great world of minor league baseball. Has his own logo now. Ben's going all big time on us. Benjamin Hill joins us for a little Ben's Biz conversation next. Whenever we bring Ben Hill on before he goes on a road trip, I feel like Jake and I are his collective, like, old grandmother, like, making sure that he's got everything packed and, like, drive safely, Ben, please. And we're sending Ben out of the road again on Thursday. Ben, do you have everything packed?
No, I did my laundry this morning and then came to the office, and I got to go home and pack it all up, get all my stuff together. And
He's been too busy just admiring his own brand new logo.
That is true. I know, you hit the big time now. Tell us about this logo, Ben, before we get into the trip.
Yeah, because of what I write about in minor league baseball, the business side of it, for almost a decade now, I've been writing about other teams' logos, and it kind of hit me, hey, I'm Ben's Biz. I've got my own kind of ramshackle brand. I need a logo too, and it was something I just kind of thought about for years. But the thing is basically in the industry, there's Brandiose and Studio Simon as the two companies creating the vast majority of minor league logos. And I thought, how great would it be to get one of those companies to make me a logo? But then the more I thought about it, the more like, well, I'm also covering the work that these companies do, and to branch
good point.
through them just didn't seem right. So then I was kind of flummoxed.
It would be very Darren Rovell of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's ethics job, things to consider. And so I was just kind of flummoxed, as I am often with this job, as I am often with life. Like, what should I do? And then it hit me that I met this guy named Sean Kane, who does painted glove collectibles. He does really great drawings on vintage baseball gloves, and he's also a freelance graphic designer beyond that. Baseball fan, nice guy. I've gotten to know him through the years, and I thought, hey, he understands me, my sensibilities. I think we can make this work. So I contacted him, and he was willing to do it. It was kind of a unique project for him, and we talked a little bit about the parameters of kind of what we wanted, and I think it came out really well. I think it really helps to put a great image on my whole exploring America through minor league baseball tagline. So
it's awesome. It's awesome. The logo is phenomenal. It's very the font is terrific. There's a map of the United States with baseball stitches in the background. But I'm going to give you my two favorite things about this logo, Ben.
Please do.
One, the crossed objects behind you. One of them is a baseball bat, but the other one is a fork. And the fork would be great enough, but you've got your arm wrapped around the fork, so you're holding the fork, which I love. My second favorite thing, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, but I feel like the people in Lehigh Valley are going to love this. Your hair kind of looks bacony. It's got like a little bacon thing going on.
That's the first I've heard that my hair.
And I like it.
But I guess
the comic version of your hair.
Yeah, the waviness of my hair. I guess subliminally you could see strips of bacon in there.
Yeah. And it's, maybe it's just because whenever I go to the blog, it's just when I'm really hungry and I want to look at all of the stuff that you or designated eater has been eating. So maybe it just tricked me into thinking it was bacon related somehow.
I like it. I like that interpretation. I'm not going to dissuade you from telling other people.
Good.
There is bacon in my hair.
Well, let's talk about this trip that's upcoming, because you've got another one. It's not as much a regional trip as it is a state trip, but you will venture out of the state of Virginia, at least at a couple of points. But it starts on Thursday. You'll head down to Richmond, and you are hitting like almost every minor league team in the state of Virginia. Not really, because there's like 75, but you start out with a lot of them. Richmond, Norfolk, Lynchburg, and Salem are up first those first 4 days. Tell us about what you got coming up on this trip.
Yeah, it's going to be almost all Virginia, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water this time of year. This is my third trip, so I've done 2 already. This is the third. I have 2 more after that. I'm still finishing up today the blog post from my last trip, so I don't have master plans for all these cities I'm visiting. It's just kind of like show up and hope it works. In Richmond, they are wearing the Robin Williams. It's like Robin Williams night, and they're going to be wearing the Jumanji theme jerseys. And they actually offered me the opportunity to throw out a first pitch while I'm wearing one and just wear it throughout the
Nice.
So I've never done that. I've never worn a theme jersey throughout the course of my day on the job. So looking forward to that. In Norfolk, I have a designated eater who is going to be taking the pork challenge. It's just eating some obscene amount of pork product in a specified amount of time. It makes me feel a little bad about myself that I promote such gluttony, but it's kind of funny too. So I think that'll be a big part of the Norfolk Tide experience, is seeing the pork challenge be attempted. And also in Norfolk, I'll get to meet 86-year-old Dave Rosenfield, who's just kind of a legendary GM and executive there, and he was actually the model for the general manager of the Springfield Isotopes in a long ago episode.
No way.
Yeah, so he's got some lore there. I forget all the specifics, but former Norfolk Tides broadcaster, I think his name is Ken Levine, wrote that episode of The Simpsons, and he used his minor league baseball experience.
That's right. I remember your story on that from a few years ago.
Working with Dave Rosenfield, and so he actually has his own Simpsons cameo, so I'm interested to talk to him about that as well.
Yeah, Ben, there's a thing we want to talk about based on a couple of stories of things that have happened recently. The first is there was a story this week on Outsports.com about Sean Conroy, who we believe is about to become the first openly gay pitcher in professional baseball. He's not going to be in the affiliated minor leagues. He just graduated from RPI and signed with the Sonoma Stompers, and he's set to make his professional debut in the Pacific Association of Professional Baseball Clubs on Thursday. There's that, and there was also, in the past week, we saw the Oakland A's have a gay pride night, an LGBT pride night, that seemed like it was a really successful event, and there were some cool stories that kind of came out of that. Saris did a really good Q&A with a handful of players over at Fangraphs that I definitely recommend. But this kind of got us wondering, and kind of want to ask you about minor league baseball teams and how they're embracing or handling sort of the emergence of these LGBT nights, if it's something that's happening, how often it's happening, and kind of what minor league baseball teams are able to do just as far as being able to either celebrate this, or if it's a hard thing, especially in smaller towns in the South. Curious just how you think that's kind of playing out in the minor leagues.
I've been seeing LGBT nights at ballparks for, I think the first one I remember noticing was maybe 5 years ago. I think like any minor league promo, teams just kind of want to reach out, who's in our community? How can we hit that specific group? It could be Little League night, it could be LGBT night. So they are slowly growing along those lines, not in a big kind of blowout sort of way like Gay Pride Night at the ballpark with themed jerseys and special guests and giveaways. Most teams haven't gone that route. It's just been more, reaching out to that community in the market and trying to get fans in the ballpark that way. But yes, I mean, society is changing rapidly, and I think most people really don't have a problem with an LGBT night, but I think there are still some markets, certainly in minor league baseball, where the teams just don't really want to go that route. They would never be outwardly discriminatory, but they also don't want to go the other direction and say, hey, welcome all our gay and lesbian fans, because they would be, I think, a little worried about alienating, some of the conservative religious segments of the fan base, and money talks, and that's, I'm sure, would be their motto for that. We don't want to alienate people, but I think these things will change with time, and we'll start seeing these more and more throughout minor league baseball as a reflection of how open it is becoming just throughout American culture.
And I think what's interesting too is, all of us see the list that we have of players on Twitter, minor league players on Twitter, Major League Baseball players on Twitter. Players, in large part, I think, are kind of conservative. A lot of them come from small towns, that same sort of thing. But it seems like teams, minor league organizations, maybe because, in part, of the disconnect between the fact that a front office for a minor league team doesn't really have anything to do with the roster of a major league team, or a minor league team for that matter. But the offices themselves seem to be more apt now to go for promotions like this that are going to cause a stir, but that they view as being positive. Now, obviously, we've seen, even just in recent weeks, some negative promotional feedback for minor league teams, but it seems like the vast majority of front offices are heading in this direction, where they want to, whether it's an environmental night, or it's blood drives, or it's something like this where you're honoring the LGBT community. Does it surprise you at all, Ben, that teams have kind of started to take this mantle and run with it, where it's like, no, we want to try and do this, and it might upset some people, but we feel like this is the right thing to do. We feel like this is the inclusive thing to do, because so much of the minor league culture is just, fun, affordable family atmosphere. But minor league teams are starting to really get in on this boat. Has that surprised you at all with the way front offices have done this?
In a general sense, no, because, minor league baseball is really, to be successful, for years and years to come, it needs to be all things to all people, and it needs to be as inclusive as possible, because that is their operating model of getting as many people in the ballpark as they can, not because they're all huge baseball fans, but because they can offer a place of entertainment for literally anyone. So I think it makes sense that teams really open their doors to as wide as to as large an audience as possible. And for that reason, I think I've been a little surprised that teams, just speaking from an industry perspective, haven't embraced LGBT nights as to the extent I think I would have thought by this point. In 2015, you still see them all over the place and in very diverse locales, but they are not as they're not staples of the promo calendar like Barclays Park Night, something like that you're going to see every year. Looking at some upcoming ones, I think the Buffalo Bisons they're doing out at the ballpark night, and the way they're doing it, partnering with a local LGBT community center and tapping into their resources. So they're going to have the person throwing out the first pitch and the person singing the national anthem are from that community and kind of local celebrities within that community. And I think that's really the way to do it, is just like any promotion, partner with those in the community who know that segment of the community, and kind of blow it out to the extent you can and make it something memorable. And it was cool to see a large market team such as Buffalo really taking that to the next level, and hopefully that serves as a model for other teams as well.
Do you think teams feel like, the people planning these events feel like they are towing a line of wanting to do this and embrace that population, but maybe not make it too big of a thing in fear of maybe attracting attention from the local church or some local businesses or sponsors or things? Do you think that's a line that teams are having to toe still?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I think when you look at a promo schedule and you just might see, LGBT night, same thing as Thirsty Thursday. It's just one more line on the promotional ledger. And I think that's the way teams are handling it. They're more and more deciding to do it, but they're deciding to do it in a context of, hey, we'll put it out there, but we're not going to write press releases. We're not going to put it all over Facebook and social media, because they don't want to draw that much attention to it to then create blowback from those who would have an issue with it. And I think in a lot of markets there'd be no issue with it, but certainly in some there are. I have talked to a GM before who told me, like, yeah, we're not going to do a promotion like that because the local diocese, is that how you say that word?
Yeah.
Diocese?
Diocese.
Diocese.
Only because I went to Catholic school my whole life.
Yeah, thank you. They're big sponsors and supporters of ours, and we just don't feel comfortable doing a gay themed promotion when we have a relationship with the church that whose doctrine is against it. So you're going to come across that, I think, for years to come. But I mean, baseball is a reflection of American society, so it's hard to believe that that gay and lesbian themed promotions won't become more and more prevalent.
He is Benjamin Hill. You can find him on Twitter at BensBiz. You can also find him driving from New York City to Richmond over the coming days, so get excited for that. Check out the blogs, bensbiz.mlblogs.com. But before we get out of here, Ben, did you happen to read the promo preview today?
I did, and I did not have a byline on it, and one Tyler, I don't even know how to say his last name, Maun. One Tyler Maun wrote it instead, and I think he did a pretty decent job. And,
Thanks, buddy.
I've got a lot going on right now, as we all do, and I'm really glad you stepped up and took the promo preview controls.
I was pretty pumped. The one thing that I wanted to stay in there was I made a joke about Jimmy Fallon because I'm the only person in the world who can't stand Jimmy Fallon, and they left it in. So I was really pumped about that.
I got to say, Tyler, I laughed harder at that joke than Jimmy Fallon on SNL the time he was on SNL.
That is the best compliment I have ever gotten. Between Ben tweeting at me today and telling me that I did a good job with it, and Jake telling me that he liked my Jimmy Fallon joke. Now, I'm gonna Costanza this show and just walk out right now. That's it for me. You've been great. Promo preview's up right now on MILB.com. I wrote it this week. A lot of cool stuff. Saved by the Bell. I've been whistling the Saved by the Bell song for 3 days straight because the Brooklyn Cyclones are hosting Salute to Saved by the Bell night. And Zach Morris, did you see at the end of that? Zach Morris actually asked for one of their jerseys. He contacted the team, Mark Paul Gosselaar, and said, "Can I have one of these?" Yeah, how awesome is that?
If they give him one, he has to, in return, pose.
Yes.
Post pictures.
He's got to put a Zach Morris wig on. I don't know. Maybe he still has that hair. I just assume that he still looks the exact same way that he did in 1993.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, why not? Benjamin Hill heading out on the road for a trip through Virginia and into West Virginia. Also, by the way, Ben will check out the new home of the West Virginia Black Bears, who are the New York Penn League affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and play at the new ballpark, which has been constructed for both them and the West Virginia Mountaineers, the University of West Virginia's baseball program. And I saw a shot from the park the other day, and the University of West Virginia logo is gigantic on the turf in center field. And I thought that was kind of interesting that a minor league team is going to play on the college's logo for the rest of existence, which I thought was fun.
Hey, whatever gets you in a new ballpark, compromises need to be made.
Ben, have a great trip, man.
Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you next week.
All right.
Well, that'll do it for episode number 13 of the Minor League Baseball Podcast, the show before the show. For Jake Seiner, I am Tyler Mon. Again, be sure to check iTunes and MILB.com later on this week. We will have a conversation with third overall draft pick from the 2014 draft, Brendan Rodgers, shortstop of the Colorado Rockies organization now, who's getting things started with the Grand Junction Rockies in the rookie-level Pioneer League. You can find us on iTunes. You can rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast there. Check out Jake on Twitter at Jake_Seiner. I am at Tyler Mon. Minor League Baseball is on Twitter at MILB. A lot of good stuff coming up on MILB.TV over the next couple of weeks. We've got some all-star games. We've got a lot of really good prospects moving up the ranks. Mark Appel is headed to the AAA level. You get a chance to check him out with the Fresno Grizzlies. All kinds of fun stuff. And until episode number 14, check out our interview with Brendan Rodgers later on this week. And we'll talk to you next week.